Entrepreneurship is not as glamorous as social media makes it to be. If you don't know what you're doing or what you're getting yourself into, you'll fail. I started alone with nothing, no structure, no systems, no capital, no money, just ambition. I was just this young, ambitious person who had left school, and I was on my journey of beginning something to redefine my life and find a sense of purpose for living. I failed. I lost money. I lost people and credible relationships. At some point, I got confused and I was asking myself, is this really meant for me, or should I just go and get my 9-to-5 job and keep doing it, raise a living and make a family out of it? But there was something right deep inside of me that kept on boiling and kept on telling me that, look, I can make a difference. I can take the risks. I can strive. I can learn. I can unlearn certain things. And one day I will test and kiss the roses and the glamours of success. Now, what are the key points? Entrepreneurship, you start solo. Yes, you start alone. That's the reality of entrepreneurship. Oftentimes we look at it and we feel like, oh, where do I even get started? Oh, I don't have team or the right people or the money. But look, if you are going to get into entrepreneurship, it's you who has the vision. Sometimes we pull people together to make that vision becomes a reality. But first, we as the visionaries, as the bearers of that vision, we need to start alone. We need to start with maybe one machine, one pot, one car, one camera, one computer, whatever field of interest you find yourself, but you need to start alone. Key point number 2, failure is inevitable. I don't know how much I'm going to stress this, but you're going to fail. It's not optional. Failure is part of success. It's part of the journey in entrepreneurship. Oftentimes, the thought of failure scares a lot of people, never even to take the first step of faith. We never look into an unfolding future. Why? Because we are afraid to fail. But now, when we begin to rewire our minds on what it means to fail, we begin to realize that failing is as equal as succeeding. Because why? In the cost of failing, there are lessons we pick up. There are trends we begin to change and we see things from a completely different perspective where we may not have seen them. Why? Because we have dared to try. I have to say that it is better to even try and fail than to not try at all. So in entrepreneurship, failure is part of the journey. You can't avoid it. It's inevitable. There's nothing you can do about it. I didn't say it. The others who have succeeded didn't say it. Because at some point, what we see is the success. And behind that success has a lot and a lot and a lot and a lot of failures. And because failures does not write itself on the archives of men, the successes are what captured all of us, and we feel like the grass is always greener on the other side. Key point number 2, we need to build a team. The moment we begin to realize that the sooner we start building the team, the faster we can grow in our journey as entrepreneurs, is the better for us. You can't do it alone. You alone can't be the person who is doing marketing, who is doing the sales closing deals, who is the person doing the execution, producing the service or producing the product. You are the person doing the distribution. You are the person doing the post-delivery, fulfillment and general logistics. You can't do it alone because why? You will burn out. So the sooner we start realizing that it's okay to start alone, but it's not okay to scale alone. Why? Because you have people who need to play different roles in maybe that institution, maybe that vision, maybe that structure. And the more we realize that it is not money that scales a business or that sustains a business, but it is systems. And systems are a compartment of people. So in the journey of entrepreneurship, knowing yourself mentally to see that, look, when I am starting out, this is my vision, this is where I am starting. I'll wear multiple hats. I'll wear the hat of everything. I am everything because I'm a solopreneur. But as you begin to build, as you begin to think of scaling, as you begin to think of having structures and systems that can sustain whatever you are doing, you need to start thinking of raising a team. Capital and scaling. Money does not build businesses, systems do. I don't know how hard I'm going to strive to explain this. Money does not build businesses, systems do. You might have one small shop you are running as an entrepreneur or a founder, or you're just starting out a business. Maybe you buy goods for 5,000 and you're intending to sell them for 7,000. Nothing wrong with that. But now, you need to understand that for me to take this business from where it is, from a one location, from a one shop, into different shops at different locations, or from a one-man band into a two-man team, a five-man team, and having an entire unit, you need to start thinking of systems. Systems are like the lifeblood of sustainability of every business. It's the day-to-day, the do's and the do-nots of any endeavor. That's why we can think of sustainability. Sometimes people think that it's how much capital I have or how much I put into my business. What about the day you are sick? What about the day your health can't permit you? What about the day psychologically you are stressed? What about the days when you have auxiliary problems that are not even caused by the business or whatever you're working on, maybe family members, and so that needs your attention. Now, that is where systems come into place because it is needed for someone to pick it up. It means therefore that business or that structure or that entity, whatever it may be, has to have a point-to-point execution. It therefore means that the founder has to be able to structurally put down the day-to-day operations of that business so that even upon their absence or upon their demise, someone else can pick it up from there and be able to run with it as though they were in the head of the founder of that business or that structure. So scaling is very important. Entrepreneurship is not a trend. It is a long-term commitment. Oftentimes I've seen amazing young people have amazing ideas. They start small, they start in their city rooms, they start building things, and they start having those one or two recommendations and applause coming from people. And before they know it, there's a way it gets into their head. The moment you can afford to pay the salary of one staff or two staffs, you start feeling like you are there already. And sometimes they go beyond just doing that into pitching into a lot of things way too early. Entrepreneurship is a long-term commitment. It takes 5 to 10 years for any venture to even have its foot settled on the ground. I've seen great, amazing ideas fail 6 months because the founder felt like if I'm not making money, if I'm not hitting my benchmark at the 6th month of my business, then I'm out. The moment you start something that is growing, you see another person who is in a different field of business, and you feel like, oh no, it's this field that is paying, and bam, before you know you're out. And something that could create a lot of impact, that had to employ people, that had to change the way young people begin to see that space or that field where you are, is terminated. Now, when we are getting into entrepreneurship, it is very important for us to have a mindset that it is for the long run. When we hear of people who have made global impacts like Jack Ma, Zuckerberg, and not even to name those people out of the African context, let's come back into Africa. Well, we hear of the Alikos, the Olumedus, those that have created long-lasting businesses. Those businesses have existed for a minimum of 3 decades. So we're talking about 30 years. When you see them on the global stage, interviews left and right, meeting with public personalities, presidents, congressmen, and really the younger generation of entrepreneurs feel like, oh, this success should happen in our own endeavors in 2 years. It should happen in 3 years. It should happen in 5 years. But that's a fact life. Except you want to go and boycott processes and try to take shortcuts. But entrepreneurship generally, for every long-term thinker, it's a long-term game of commitment. It's like getting into a marriage. You don't enter into a marriage nowadays as we see people go 6 months, 1 year, and they're backing out. No. You get into it with a mindset that this path I am taking is what gives me fulfillment in my life. If it's going to take me 10 years to have the picture of what I've painted mentally into my head, I am ready to commit 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to see that the bigger vision of my life is accomplished through my business, through my NGO, through my ministry, through whatever works of my hands that I get committed into.